What's going on, everybody? I don't know what. Well, I guess it was a copyright issue with the last one, and I mean, I just didn't even think about that, man. I didn't think that that was going to be a problem. So anyway, we can come back in here, and I did see y'all's comments. I was not able to respond to them though, just because the stream got shut down. But the overall point of what I was trying to make with that film breakdown was just to say that, man, every single thing that we did wrong in that game is so fixable. It's just like pee-wee football stuff. And I know that this staff is going to emphasize that tremendously moving forward. And I fully expect for this to kind of be like a blessing for this team. And I think that we're just going to move forward and surge forward in a great, great way. So, um, yeah, Nugs. It was fun while it lasted. But we got to figure out something else. I've been working on getting that all 22 film. I think I might know somebody who can help me get that footage. So maybe that won't get copyrighted. I don't know exactly how that works, but we'll see. K Deluxe, it was good stuff. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. We just we just gotta work on a few small things, y'all. We're gonna be just fine. We're gonna be just fine. If y'all have any, questions or anything like that, I can answer them now. It's kind of hard while I'm going live to be able to look at y'all's comments and say anything to y'all. Nug says you're right about Joe's lack of urgency or intensity. I hope Hype lights the fire in him the rest of the season. I think so, man. And you know what? After that game, I was just ready to bench Joe. But once I went back and watched that film, it's like, well, he really didn't play terrible. Biggest issue I think was that offensive line. I think we might have some pretty serious problems there. Sprags got pushed around a lot, and he might be the oldest guy on that line, maybe outside of Crawford. Crawford's another old guy. Um, do I think a QB from Mike Harmon? Can you rephrase that? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. But yeah, I think that offensive line was a major problem. Andre kind of got pushed around too, and Ollie Lane, he didn't play as bad as I thought, but he got pushed around. I think we've got a problem at tackle, especially Crawford. Crawford was probably the worst out of that bunch, but both of them have a problem with the speed rush. Crawford has had a lot more of a problem with bull rush and with speed rush. Oh, okay. So Mike Harmon, do I think that a quarterback change is at hand? Not right now. No, I don't. That's kind of what I was just talking about right there. I think that we've got some other issues. I think that the biggest issue to me is that Coach Heupel has to know his personnel better, and this offense can't be what it was last season because Joe Milton is not the same type of player as Hendon Hooker was. Hendon Hooker would make a lot of things happen with his legs, and I think that he was able to maybe read the defense and kind of like know what plays to get into a little bit quicker than what Joe does. So if you look at that first drive that we had, what we noticed is the offense flowed very, very quickly, really smoothly, and we were able to execute. So I think that it's just gonna like Josh Heupel is gonna have to quarterback from the sideline. He's gonna have to, it's gonna have to be like 5 steps ahead of the defense. So it's going to be a lot more work for the coaching staff, I think, for this offense than it was last season. We just don't have the same types of players, but we still have really good players that have a really, really high ceiling. So I think that we can still, produce and put up points. K Deluxe, will Cooper Mays help when he comes back? I think so for sure. He's going to help out tremendously. I think that if we could work Ollie Lane in at left guard, that just makes that makes this offense exponentially better. um, you know, he's decent at center, but once we can get one of those other guards out of there, which is definitely going to be Andre, it's just going to make the offensive line flow so much better. So I think that we really have to get better at moving bodies, though. Like if we could establish a good run game, I mean, it's going to be hard for teams to be able to stop us because you have to play with the lighter box once we can start throwing the ball down the field more. And I mean, it's just going to be like you have to choose, pretty much just choose how you want to lose. Yes, you are welcome, Mike Harmon Nugs. For all the talk, Joe actually wasn't that bad. That O line bullied. Um, You think Cooper coming back can fix that? Yeah. So that's kind of like the same as Key's question. Yes, I do. I think that him coming back is going to be great. Now, I've been hearing rumblings for the past couple of weeks that he's not coming back till next month. Don't know how true all that is, but whew, man, I mean, it's going to be a tough stretch to, have to try to sustain this team throughout, because what October, who all do we have coming up? So we got UTSA, and then we've got South Carolina, then we've got a bye, then we've got Texas A&M. And I think that Texas A&M might be at the start of October, so it'd be good to have him back for that game. And Keenan Pili, I think, might be coming back around that same time too. Keenan Pili, I think, is the biggest. Well, him and probably Cooper Mays, but I don't. People underestimate how good Keenan Pili is. He's a huge, huge factor in this defense, and we saw that this week with our linebacker play. But they're getting thrown into that fire, and I think that they are going to for sure take their lumps, but they're going to be so much better by the end of the season. So we just got to be able to sustain through through all these injuries and everything like that. Something else too, I went back and listened to Joe Milton's post game press conference words that he had to say, and it actually sounded a lot better. I think that we kind of get caught up in that moment of losing and just seems kind of like nonchalant. It's kind of a good thing, I think, for the quarterback to be that level headed, but there is a certain point, right? And I know that Coach Heupel picked up on that because today in his press conference, he was like, well, they are pissed off that we lost. And he kind of said that 3 or 4 times. So he knows that that was bad optics and that was bad audio for this fan base to hear Joe Milton talk about, kind of talk the way that he was talking. But I think that we're going to be fine, man. I haven't watched much film on UTSA yet, so I don't know what they look like, but I'm going to get started on that tonight. I just wanted to kind of finish up with Florida. I think that after this video, I'm pretty much done talking about Florida, man. So, but I think that we should be able to come out and handle business. I think that their starting quarterback is hurt, so that's going to be good. This defense needs a lot of confidence. Going back to the game on Saturday, I feel like defense was the biggest issue. Defense, maybe even more than the offensive line, because we could barely get the football. So it's hard, man. Like it's hard to be able to establish a good offense, especially the way that at the pace that we like to run at with when you barely have any time to be able to operate. And, anytime that you're playing against an SEC team and any team for that matter, if they know that you're passing, it's so hard, man. Like it's super, super tough. And I did see there was a couple things that I wanted to show y'all in the film where there was some situations where they knew it was throwing it deep. They were playing quarters, which is four. It's both of the cornerbacks are playing in a deep zone, and so are both of the safeties. So everybody's deep, and we was able to still complete passes. So problem is not necessarily with our wide receivers. I don't think it's with our running backs. Jalen Wright played phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what his yards after contact was, but it had to be something astronomical. He's dragging a pile, moving a pile by himself, just a sheer will to win. And like we talked about, Joe was not that bad. We had to have a better offensive game plan moving forward. We have to be able to come up with some stops on daggum defense, man. I think we need to bring a lot more pressure. That's something that we just didn't do too much of. So hopefully we'll, in these next few games, maybe we'll show some more blitzes and let these linebackers hunt, let them eat. Let them hunt and let them eat. I definitely, man, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and, for the questions, for the comments, everything like that. Sorry that stream got shut down. I was trying to wait on P to get in here and let him kind of say some of his thoughts, but I don't know if he's gonna make it quite in time. But if not, I'm telling y'all, man, like we definitely want to go live a lot more because what we really enjoy is the feedback from everybody, from other Tennessee ball fans. That's what we're all about, just being able to talk with y'all and hear y'all's thoughts and kind of see what y'all's perspectives are on different things. No. So do you think our defense is better when they play zone or when they play man up? I think that we are better depending on the quarterback. Last week we would have been a lot better playing man. So if we're playing up against a quarterback that, isn't very mobile, isn't super accurate, I would say that man and, bringing pressure, blitz, that's probably the way that you want to play defense against those types of teams. And if it's somebody that is, if he's more mobile and if he's more accurate and if he's got a stronger arm, you've got to be able to mix it up. You've got to be able to time it up and know what the offensive coordinator's tendencies are on down and distance, at what point in the game, are we winning, are we losing, and be able to dial it up and just be calculated with it. And I think that Tim Banks does a good job of that for the most part, but I think that he miscalculated a lot in this past game. It's almost like he played not to give up any big plays, almost playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And we saw that their defensive coordinator did the exact opposite. It was just a lot of bringing pressure. And yeah, I wouldn't even necessarily say that the pressure too much got to us, because they was able to kind of get pressure on us with just four people. So, and when they actually did bring pressure, for some reason we picked that up a lot better. And I can't quantify that for y'all. But yeah, I think that that's probably how we have to start to move forward. I think I would love to see us play a lot more man coverage. And the reason that we probably didn't too is because we played Ricky Gibson. He played, I don't know how many snaps, but he played a pretty good amount in that second quarter, I want to say it was. And um, he's a good player and he's gonna obviously get even better. But with him, with Gabe Judy, they're not great in man-to-man coverage right now. Gabe Judy is just is who he is. And I would say that with Ricky Gibson, as he gets more lumps and as he learns how to play SEC ball more, he's going to be phenomenal. Slaughter was out. Not sure what's going on with him. They said that he was kind of bumped up. Said the same thing about Dylan Sampson. I think that Dylan Sampson would have gave us a lot in that game as well. Wanted to get to some of Small's runs, and he just kind of is a little bit too patient. Something else I'd like to see us take out of our offense altogether is with that tight end as kind of like a fullback, and he's the lead blocker. They tend to kind of take too much time getting through the hole. I like to see them be a little bit more like have more of a sense of urgency to get to where they're supposed to go, because you see our backs are just like waiting on them. Okay, go, go, go. And it gives the defense more time to kind of catch up to us. Something that I've noticed that Georgia did to us last season is they'll start off with a really light box, right? So you'll have 4 or 5 inside of that box area, and then you'll have your nickel players playing almost kind of like splitting between maybe like where a linebacker would play and where a normal nickel would play, kind of like a little bit closer than what a nickel would, and maybe a little bit further out than what an outside linebacker does, so that they can kind of get into those passing lanes. And because our runs are so slow, because we have pulling tackles, pulling guards, and then sometimes we have, like I said, that lead blocker. It's like it takes a long time for the run to get started. So those outside guys have plenty of time to come way from outside. Our tackles can't get to them, and they're able to just kind of blow it all up. And I've seen that a lot. That's something that I know that Heupel is seeing, because, like I said, Georgia did it, Florida did it, and that's something that we're gonna have to get that figured out. And I believe that moving forward, we'll have that fixed. Once our running game gets solid, again, it's going to be really, really tough to stop this offense. I think that we can still do a lot of good things. It's just hard to stop an offense that spreads you out so far that can run on you if, like we just talked about, that box is too light. So getting that fixed is going to go a very long way. I think that we're going to see a lot of different play calls than what we're used to. I like to look at like Andy Reid and the Chiefs. If you look at what their offense does, teams have been playing them with too high for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, but they're still able to execute their offense at a really high level. I think part of it is Andy Reid has fun with it with those kids. Does a lot of like funny trickeration type stuff, but obviously having the best quarterback in the game does not hurt. So, I'm not saying that Joe Milton is that guy, but I think that what makes Patrick Mahomes so good is that Andy Reid has built an offense around him. Coach Heupel has to build his offense around Joe Milton if that's going to be our guy. And if it's not, then we've got to find somebody else. I know that y'all been talking about Nico. You know, I would say that Nico probably fits more of what Josh Heupel really likes to do, but it doesn't sound like they want to move on from Joe at this point. So we've got to find a way to make this thing work with Joe. And hey, Nugs, I see you, baby. You know, you are very, very welcome. Thank y'all for tuning in for sure, man. Wish that I could have finished up with that breakdown. You know, I actually love doing that. It's a lot of fun. For me, it's a lot of fun. For P, who is my brother, Kason, who is the youngest, that's my brother's son, that's my nephew, and the older one, who is Bray, that's my brother and my nephew. So we love football stuff, man. And actually, Braylon's gonna have a channel, or you know, he might do something on this channel coming up in basketball season. For y'all basketball heads out there, he's really really knowledgeable about basketball, so we're gonna let him do his thing. But you know, I think that's probably pretty much it, man. Unless anybody has any more questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. And you know, if we get to a point where my brother P comes in, I don't know if he's gonna make it in time. I don't think he's gonna be able to get on the stream until about 8:30. So about 30 minutes away. And you know, I pretty much said everything that I have to say for now, man. I'm anxious to go ahead and fire up this UTSA film and see how they look. I might try to do a little something that's not live and just break down what I see from their team. I don't know if it's 100% necessary, but you know, I might maybe do something post game after we play them. Hopefully, we can go out and get that victory. I fully expect for us to, though. You know, I think that there's a different fire that's lit under this team's butt right now. Okay, VFL Willie says, where does the O line go from here and out, or from here on out? Well, I would say that you know, definitely getting Cooper Mays back is going to solidify and change up a lot of things. I'm pretty anxious to see who they plug in right there at the left guard, and also, you know, I would like to know if you know, with Spraggins, because mm, he was close to looking the worst out of all those players on that offensive line. But there's a lot of stuff that we have to get fixed. A lot of it is just basic fundamental stuff. They tend to stand straight up out of their stance, and it's a dog barking outside. So if y'all hear that, I'm sorry, but you know, they tend to duck their head a lot. It's like they're not in good game shape, because anytime that you're ducking your head trying to hit somebody, you're not dropping your butt. And whenever you don't drop your butt and get in a proper spot to be able to punch and have a nice base, it means that you're probably gassed. You're probably tired. Obviously, with the whole Mincy situation, he did play some on special teams. We're gonna need him back, man, because he's probably our best run blocker outside of Cooper Mays on this entire team. So having him back is going to be huge. I think that he has to get plugged in at one of those tackle positions, probably at right tackle. I think Crawford is going to be a come off of the bench guy. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to get some stuff fixed. I don't know if we go as far as trying to widen out splits or tighten them up. I mean, but we've got to get something fixed. To me, it looks like a whole lot of fundamental stuff. Oh, Nugs for $10. Appreciate you, Nugs. Let's see here. Appreciate your stuff, man, and shout out to the young men you talk ball with. You're teaching them right. If we can get the older one to rep the orange, we'll be in good shape, man. You know what? So let me tell y'all this funny story about Braylon. So Bray, that's my older nephew, Nugs, that you was just talking about. Growing up, man, you know, he was a huge Tennessee fan, and he literally could sing Rocky Top before he could talk. And I'm not joking. I'm gonna see if I can find videos of that. He was like 2 years old singing Rocky Top, and he could not even talk. So I mean, you know, he still does love Tennessee, but you also have to understand his dad played at Georgia, so he kind of got that honest. And so you know, I mean, I don't. We do give him a pretty like rough time about it, but it's all in good fun and you know love and stuff. But yeah, man, he does secretly root for Tennessee. I think if Tennessee gets really really good, you're gonna see him with his orange and white stuff on. Um, and let's see, this is Bo Hunting 101. What's up at Blue Chip? Love your channel, man. Keep it up. Hey, thank you so much. You know, I really, really appreciate y'all just for tuning in and love to hear y'all's feedback and y'all's thoughts. It just it makes this football season so much better. I started watching YouTube and like Tennessee videos last year with Boogie Bentley, and I had to watch it every single day. So just you know, seeing how that whole thing went and being a part of anything similar to that to me is just great. And I want to give another shout out to Boogie for letting me come onto his channel. I thought that that was really dope of him. Um, and I think that they're doing a great job over there with what they do. But something else that I did also want to talk to y'all about. So y'all know that I've got that show at Buford High School, and I've got a pretty good insight with a lot of those players and with a lot of players in this area. This is one of the most talent-rich areas for high school football in the entire country, and there are a lot of guys in the 2025 class and 2026 class that want to come to Tennessee. There is a linebacker. His name is Trez Walker. Okay, so this is inside. This is inside info. He's a strong Tennessee lean. The number 5 cornerback in the class of 2025, and his name slips my mind. But if you go on 24/7 Sports or on three, just take a look at the cornerbacks. He's really close to committing to Tennessee. And then in that 2026 class, man, they've got some like generational types of players. There's a great D end. There's a few great safeties, a few great linebackers. It's just a lot of great players, and y'all already know every single day whenever I go up there, I'm talking about Tennessee. So hopefully I can, hopefully I can help us land a few of those guys. And there's a lot of other guys in this area too. So I think that the future is really, really bright. We just got to be more consistent, man. Winning. Like I hate that we lost this game because obviously just so many of these kids these days are about what team is the hottest. That's why you see Coach Prime. He's going to get a lot of players because his team is hot. And if we can get hot and if we can stay hot, Tennessee is, I mean, it pretty much sells itself once you come up on campus, and y'all already know this. We got the best fan base in the entire nation, and we've got a great coaching staff. And I think that, we're going to be just fine moving forward. Um, where at? Okay, so Timmy G says where at. So that is at Buford High School. That's it. That's in Buford, Georgia. You can check them out. They're the number one high school team in the state of Georgia. They've got the number one quarterback and player in the country that just transferred in. They've got the number one safety. They've got the number, I think, 2 or 3 edge rusher. And I'm talking about just in this class. And that's Edric Houston. I think Edric Houston, man, like he puts me to mind so much of like Reggie White. He's just a big, fast, physical guy. I'm gonna try to post some clips of some of the just phenomenal plays that these guys make so y'all can see. But yeah, I mean, I talked to all those guys. They've got, like I said, they've got a lot of guys in the upcoming classes that are strong Tennessee leans that are 3, 4, 5 star guys. So just keep a close eye out for that. Okay, let me okay, VFL Willie, we're about to upgrade big at safety. Yeah, man, for sure. We definitely need that. Candace Lockwood says we need safeties and offensive tackles. You ain't never lie. We need both of those bad for sure. And we got some good ones coming in. There's another one at Buford. He's not a Tennessee lean at this point. I don't want to say what school he likes because I don't want to put that out there just yet. But his name is Brandon Jacobs. It's Brandon Jacobs' son, and he's like 6'8", and he's very fleet of foot. He's a big, strong, moves very well, bends very well guy, and really, really good kid. That's the biggest thing to me with all those guys. They're all such good kids, and they fit into our program beautifully. So hopefully we can land some of them. All right, let me try to catch up. Shadowless Pokemon Dimes. Did you see what Beasley said about being undisciplined? I did, and that concerned me. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but this is us talking. I think he might have been talking about Caleb, or not Caleb Herring, but I think he was talking about Herring. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could have been talking about Arion Carter. I don't know, maybe talking about somebody else. But yeah, because just to me, it just looked like Herring was lost. And that's something else I was trying to show y'all in the film breakdown is like Herring was just a step too slow. And I really wanted to be able to emphasize to y'all how small that margin of error is on this level. It would be like this much, like a split second, and it's like a 10, 15 yard play. So it just goes to show just how good these guys really, really are, man. So you have to take your hat off to the ones who can play at such a high level. It's incredible. But yeah, I mean, we've got to get that fixed. And I'm hoping that Beasley did, I hope that he's vocal about that, right? That's something that we've heard the coaches kind of talking about him being more vocal. And he seems like that's not really in his personality. Everybody doesn't lead that way. Some people lead more just by their actions. And but we need somebody to be the voice of every single position. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's got to lead. Somebody's got to be the one to like lead with what they do with their actions, and somebody's got to lead by talking. Somebody's got to be, and I know Coach Hypo doesn't like this, but if you've ever played sports, especially football, then hey, sometimes you got to get in somebody's face, and it might turn into an altercation. But if you really love this team, if you're passionate about winning, you're willing to take it there. And not that I want to see these guys fight, but I want to see that fire. Like I want to see them. Hey, man, why aren't you watching film? Like, why don't you know what you're doing? Somebody's got to do that. And that's how those 90s teams was. I mean, could you even imagine not knowing what to do with Al Wilson on the field? Come on, dude. Like this, nobody was doing that. Nobody was doing that. Let me get back. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to keep up with everything. Okay. So Nug, speaking of future recruits, you think we'll hold on to Shamar or no, or even Boo since you mentioned Prime? So I haven't heard much about Arno. So I don't know what's going on with him. That could be a tricky one. That could be a really tricky one. You have to keep this in mind, right? Anybody like in the Georgia area, especially like anywhere close to the city, Coach Prime he's a big deal here. You know what I'm saying? Obviously because he played here and he's still a legend here, but also because he was very heavy in the like church stuff here. So a lot of people really, really look up to Coach Prime. And if he can get this area locked down, I mean, that's pretty much going to be it. It's hard. There's a lot of talent in this area. I don't think he obviously he's not going to be able to get everybody, but he's going to get most of those people. So anybody that's kind of like looking at Coach Prime and those busts right now, I think that there's cause for some concern for sure. Um, Brent Williams says Devin Williams. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. So that's the cornerback from Buford, and he's real close. He wears Tennessee stuff almost like every single day, y'all. So that's that's gonna be, and he's really good, man. Again, that's a really good kid. I love his coverage. I love the way that he comes to work every single day. There's a lot of good, really good players there that I think that Tennessee is gonna get. So be looking out for that. Timmy G says good deal. Timmy G said, yeah, I saw that. Okay. Um, Tristan Malone always need offensive tackle in all players, every class. Games are won in the trenches. Yes, that's a whole fact. That's a fact. Yeah, man. I think that we're gonna have to get some of those like body mover guys. I think that we've got some in this class. I think that we've got some in the 23 class too that are just kind of like just learning how to play SEC football, or they're just getting big enough, strong enough. But once they do, man, we're gonna be just fine. That 23 class is special. I promise y'all that. It's a lot of good guys. Some of y'all who might be newer to the channel might not know. I actually started off doing like film breakdown on our players, and so we've got a lot of good breakdowns on those guys, and I'm gonna get back into that. Just doing a whole lot right now with the show, obviously with filming and work and everything else. So it's tough to get back into that, but I'm definitely going to. So y'all just keep a close eye out for that. That's something that you're interested in. Um, what else we got here? Brandon Jacobs' best friend lives in my neighborhood. Oh, okay. Yes, sir. That's what's up, man. Yeah. Brandon Jacobs is he's a cool guy. I haven't talked to him too much, but just seen him in passing, and he's a big dude, man. He's huge. I mean, he for real. He looks like he's about 6'4", probably 265, 270, and he still looks good. It's like he can still play. He probably still works out a lot. Um, Now, okay, Shadowless Pokemon Doms. Okay, it has me worried because he also said it didn't. Okay, hold on, my bad. Because he also said it didn't surprise him from how they practice. Yeah, 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 absolutely. So back to the Beasley comments. Yeah, that's not good. That's never good, and that's something that again that needs to be checked. Somebody's got to step in and say, hey, this is not what we do here. And I'm really surprised to have heard that because it just seems like we wouldn't have any guys like that. And obviously it's not only on those players. I think that Coach Hypo has to get those guys out of here. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I don't care how talented you are. I mean, if you're not going to help us on Saturdays, what difference does it make? So yeah, I'm expecting for them to have a hard week of practice, man. Like a really hard week of practice. A whole lot of fundamentals, a whole lot of running, up downs, push ups, a whole lot of that type of stuff. Um, let's see here. Candace Lockwood, Coach Prime won't be at Colorado long. Yeah, you're exactly right, Candace, and that does kind of worry me because where is he going to go next? He's probably going to come to the SEC if he goes anywhere else. So we talked about this on some previous podcasts. He's from Florida, so he knows that area really, really well. That's another area that he's going to do very well in if he goes to. And then he's lived in Texas, I think, for most of his like grown man's life, and yeah, Texas A&M's probably going to come open. No, I wouldn't mind him going there. I just don't want him to go to Georgia or go to Florida. So as crazy as this is going to sound to y'all, kind of a good thing that Florida beat us because we got old Sunbelt Billy. We bought him at least one more year, and that man is not a very good coach. Like they outcoached us, and I don't know how, but that won't ever happen, ever, ever. So, I'm looking forward to them being very, very mediocre or really even subpar in the SEC for quite some time. But what we cannot have is Coach Prime going to Georgia or Florida because that's going to spell a lot of trouble for us moving forward. Let's see what else we got here. Bo Hunting 101. I grew up watching Deion Sanders. Glad he's back in the spotlight, but I hope he don't steal our recruits. I feel you, man. And at some point, that's probably going to come because everybody wants to go play for Coach Prime. So we just got to find a way, man, just to be as relevant as possible with the like wins and losses. We got to get us a daggum championship quick, real quick. Timmy G, Al and Big John wouldn't. Yes, no. Al and Big John would not let you not know what you're doing. Not show up to work every single day. We all know that. And really, I mean, it's not just them. You look at that entire team. There's so many people on both sides. There was all dogs, man. And I thought that we had a team like that this season, but I guess I was wrong. We still got some stragglers that we need to get on the same page as everybody else. We got to get them up out of our program because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And I'm not going to point out anybody, but if you go back and watch that film, it'll be very obvious on who I'm talking about. Big Papa says last year's team had fire. This team hasn't really showed much fire. Yeah, I would agree with you 1,000%. I think that they are still kind of riding that wave of just like the expectations of, hey, we're going to be the best offense in the entire country, or our defense maybe doesn't have to be super great. We just need to make a couple of stops. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, we need to get back to that. Just bring your lunch pail and just go to work every single day, man, and just take those little things. I was so happy to hear Coach Heupel in his press conference today talk about those little details. That's everything, man. It's all about the small things. That's what we saw against Florida, man. That's what the whole film breakdown was really for, just to show very, very small things, man, made a really big difference in that game. And we're way better than that team. I mean, like way better. They're gonna lose 4 or 5 games. I promise y'all that. That's not a good team. All right, Timmy G says, I think Martinez will be looking for a job into the season. He was the only coach who didn't get an extension. Yeah. He's definitely been on the hot seat, and it doesn't help him at all that our secondary is having some trouble tackling, especially our cornerbacks, which is what he mostly coaches. We got to get something figured out there. And I know that a lot of teams don't like to be really physical during practice, but you have to do something. Like you've got to either overemphasize it and give them some sort of punishment for missing those tackles. Whenever I play, we just call them lows, right? So like if you miss a tackle, or obviously, if you don't give great effort, miss a block, miss a pass, miss a catch, whatever, those were called lows. And you would have a punishment if you got up to a certain number of lows over the course of the season. And it didn't take much, you could, have enough lows. I think it might have been 2 or 3 where you got to do something. So, excuse me, I think that we need to implement something like that into our system. Um, Jerry Gibson says, or Bama. Yeah, I've heard a lot. I think you're talking about Coach Prime. I've heard a lot about him maybe going to Alabama. That would be another place that we do not want him going to. Like, I mean, how terrible would that be to just have to go through however many 25, 30 years of Nick Saban and then have to deal with Coach Prime? No, please, please, please don't go there. I'm hoping that they take Dabo because, you know, Dabo is man, he looks like he might end up running Clemson's program straight into the dirt. And I would love to see him go to Alabama so he can do the same thing for them. So we don't have to worry about them anymore. Let's see. Let me go back up. Missing some of them. Okay, so Timmy G says dream job for him would be Miami. All that NIL money and prime recruiting would be nasty. Yeah. So you know what? The only thing about them down there is that they need to put some more money into, like the weight room and all that stuff. Like they're so far behind the times in that. But yeah, I think that Coral Gables, dude. I mean, yeah, if you are a young man, that's a great place to be, bro. I mean, that's a great place to be. So that's it's shocking for me to see that they don't close more on players, but it's just got to be because they just don't have the same stuff as regular ACC or SEC schools. But to your point, I think that Coach Prime would be able to, do some sort of a fundraiser or something like whatever he needs to do to get them up to par there, he would do it. And if he did, South Florida talent is very different. It's really, really different. I don't know what it is, if it's something different in their water, but those dudes are all dogs. For any of y'all that's old enough to remember those, 1980s, which, that's a little bit before my time, but 1980s Miami teams, and then those 2000s, early 2000s, all those Hall of Famers, all those NFL players, all those studs, they all came from South Florida, and they still got those same types of athletes. So yeah, that would be another place that would be scary to see him go. Um, Yep. Okay. So Brent Williams says that he agrees that Billy will stay another year. And then Nug says, I don't see Kirby leaving UGA for a while, but Billy's clock is ticking in Gainesville. What do you think about Lane Kiffin at Florida? There's a guy that thinks that's almost inevitable. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I actually heard something earlier today about Lane Kiffin really wanting to stay at Ole Miss for his family. So there's some growth there, and maybe he wants to stay there. I just obviously Florida would be a great place for him. That's another scary thought. The only thing about Lane Kiffin is that it's tough for him. For some reason, they don't play very good defense, but I think that he could get that fixed pretty easily if he goes to Florida. Florida's another place that obviously it kind of like sells itself. It's easy just to get good players, good coaches in, and yeah, he would excel there. I think that Ole Miss is, Ole Miss has to play Georgia. You also talked about Kirby Smart. Ole Miss plays Georgia, and I think that's going to be a close game for Georgia because Georgia's offense is so stagnant. I know this is not what you're asking, but their offense is so stagnant. I think that Lane Kiffin could get a win against Georgia at Ole Miss. Imagine what he's going to do at Florida. So, shoot, I think if Kiffin would have stayed at Tennessee, if he didn't just leave us like that, he was building something special. I mean, we look good. We almost went out and beat Bam in his first season. So that man can coach his butt off. I just want him to kind of like stay at Ole Miss and maybe go to USC so we ain't got to see him no more. But we all know he won't be going back there probably ever. And the other thing too, Nugs, back to your point about Kirby, I'm gonna tell you something about Georgia fans. They are the worst fans. They are impatient. Now that they've got Coach Bobo as offensive coordinator, they are on edge. Like they're all so scared of every single game. You barely beat South Carolina, who's a team that you're way more talented than. They've looked very, very, um, very average, especially early on in a lot of these games against terrible teams. So I think that he probably has another year or two. I think that Georgia loses one or two games this season. And if that happens, he'll probably be on the hot seat, especially if Coach Prime is still out there. What we have to hope is that it times up perfectly that, you know, Georgia will fire Kirby and then Prime will take a job somewhere else. And then Georgia has to scramble to have a good coach. That's what I hope. And if y'all didn't know, I hate Georgia more than any team, so I always root against them. All right, let me get caught up on some of these comments. All right, so Tristan Malone says, I think Kiffin will be Saban's replacement in Bama. Wow, wouldn't that be something? I don't think Saban will be there another 2 or 3 years, and the biggest hire in Bama history will be who they hired to Saban. Yeah, bad hire. They will. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 1,000,000%. I think that Saban is probably about done. It just seems like he's just tired of it. You know what I mean? He's like, you know what? I'm the best college football coach of all time. Like, what else do I need to prove? I think he's just trying to win maybe one more, and he's just gonna ride out. So it just really all depends on what his teams do. Obviously, to finish up this season, and then I think maybe next season, if he has another average to like below average season by his standards next year, I think that he's probably going to be done. So that's an excellent point. I could see Kiffin going there. Maybe he might not want to go coach in Nick Saban's shadow. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, him pretty much anywhere is going to be a big issue, man. That dude can coach. There's no doubt about that. Hate him or love him, that man can coach up an offense quick. Agent Orange, what's going on, Agent Orange? Just got here. Hype has had a top 10 offense since Mizzou. I believe he'll fix it. Climbing that hill ain't a straight line up. You're exactly right, man. I'm really not worried about it. I think that kind of like we talked about. I think that he's probably taking the blame for everything that's going on now, and he's just going to find a way to win. And that's one of the things that you have to love about like a Type A coach and somebody that just absolutely hates losing. Like just despises it with a furious passion. He's definitely going to figure out what we need to do to get this offense back going. And I'm looking forward to it, man. And I think that we just got to stay patient and just try to get too high, try to get too low, and just try to stay as even keeled as possible. Like you said, Agent Orange, we still have a pretty. It's not a steep hill, but we still have a uphill battle right now, and it's not a steep hill because we can take a lift. I would say 90% of the way up that hill just by getting little fundamental stuff fixed, and that's going to fix 90 to 95% of all of our problems. So and I think that the rest of the problems is just in, hey, we have to know our personnel and we have to coach to that. So we'll see, man. We'll see what they got dialed up. Tristan Malone says, be like Tennessee is since former. I lost. Let me see. I think Kiffin. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. I think you're talking about after Saban leaves. Yeah, man. As far as just like with the way that the program's going to move, yeah, I could definitely see Bama going down. I mean, because they came up so high, they're already kind of starting to go down pretty quickly. Yeah, they had to get the correct person in there, man. Coaching makes all the difference. Big Papa says all I heard was how good we were, but after what I've seen, do we have the talent? Everybody says. So now this is the thing. That's a really good question. We do have a lot of good talent, and the offensive line is not as good as I thought that they were going to be from what I saw last week. Again, I don't want to get too high. I don't want to get too low. That could have just been some crazy situation. But outside of that, yeah, we've got a ton of talent, man. It's just our coaches have to put us in the correct positions to utilize the talent that we do have. And again, it might not look like the teams last year, on offense, defense, or special teams, but we've got to find a way to be able to get these guys going and put them in the best positions to win. But yeah, no, we've got a ton of talent. Something else too, like we talked about. We talked about Carter, the freshman backer. Talked about him so much on this channel and how great of a athlete he is, and just expecting big things from him. He looks a little bit lost out there, and he also looks a step slow. I think that he needs to lose 5 to 10 pounds, and we've got to find a way. Maybe we blitz him more, or I'm not sure what we do, but I'm bringing it up just to say he's one of those players that we see that he's a great player. He's very talented. We've got to utilize him correctly. And there's a lot of other people I think the exact same way about. And I'm gonna talk about somebody else in just a second. Nug says impatient. They stuck with Rick for a decade being average. Yes, they did. That's an excellent point, Nugs. But I'm gonna tell you the difference between that was they hadn't won a championship since 1980. So them, I mean, and then you also have to think about if you go back to the 90s, I mean, they were like second or third in the SEC East every single season. So getting to SEC championships on on an almost every year basis and, winning some, they were happy with that. So they were like, well, let's just stick with him until we get something better. Now they're cocky. They just won back-to-back national championships. They're full of themselves and they think that they just deserve to win them all the time. So especially with Coach Prom being out there, I promise you, and because I'm already hearing it. I hear it on the local radio stations here. They're already talking about it. And if he has a mediocre season, I'm telling you, he's going to be on the hot seat. As crazy as that is to even think about, it's very, very true. Candace Lockwood, who plays center once Mays leaves. Who, yeah. So once Mays leaves, we're also going to be losing Ollie Lane. I think it's going to be Bison Lane, who is a true freshman right now. He's a big guy. I think he's about 6'5", 315 pounds, something like that. So he's still kind of learning. Somebody else who I think could also play center is Aiden Bustle. He's a really versatile offensive player. I think he can play center, guard, tackle. So we'll see. That's a really really good question because Cooper Mays is probably gone after this season, and that's something that P and I spoke on is that, hey man, this team could take a step back after this year. So we felt like this was the year for us to be able to go out and do it, but you just never know. That transfer portal is always open too. So maybe we can find a good center out there. I think that we probably are going to be doing a whole lot of looking for offensive linemen in that transfer portal now. I think most people are probably going to start looking to that transfer portal a lot more heavily than they have, in previous seasons. Nicholas Powell. Okay, yeah, Nicholas Powell says chop chop. Swamp Voodoo. Man, listen, dude. Yeah, that is true, but y'all still suck, dude. You know what I mean? Like y'all are still not gonna win the East. We're still ranked higher than you. I mean, so that should tell you how bad your team is. Like we're still ranked higher than you. So we're not worried about y'all, man. Y'all are still gonna give us a good opportunity to be able to win the East. And if we win the East, we can win the whole SEC. And if we do that, we still got a shot. But I think that right now we are a long way away from talking about that. But we're even after losing y'all, we're closer than y'all probably will be. As crazy as that is. Tristan Malone. What's the spark you think we need on offense? You think Nico could do that, or do you think it's more than just QB problem on offense? Joe not being a leader, think that rubbing off on the rest of the team. That's another really good question, Tristan. Yeah, I think that the offense does need some sort of a spark, and I kind of talked about this. I don't know. Yeah, I think you was here for that. I kind of talked about this with Andy Reid and the Chiefs. He does a good job of keeping everything really really light. Um, it looks to me like Josh Heupel he's looked a little bit stressed. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, it could be the offensive line, could be Joe, could be a multitude of a million different things. Nobody really knows why, but I think that they need to get back to basic fundamental stuff and maybe just put in some like fun plays. You know what I mean? Put in something fun, put in some like trick plays. Sometimes that's enough to kind of just get the whole offense going. Do I think Nico could bring that spark? I do, but I also think that he could have the whole opposite impact on this team. Because you could have guys that are saying, well, Joe's been here for all this time. He did everything right. And you're going to bench him for this freshman, or, you know, maybe if you bring Nico in some spurts, it could help. But the last thing that we want to do right now is lose this entire team. So after I started to think about it that way, I was like, well, dang, maybe we don't need to rush to bring Nico in. And then, too, after watching film, you see, well, Joe didn't even really play that bad. So, I don't think that there's any real cause for us to just say, hey, let's rush in Nico, because there's no guarantee that he's going to be better. I do think that he fits his offense a lot better. I think he's a lot more of what Hendon Hooker was. I think he's a lot more mobile, and I think he's more accurate on the run. I think he's more of a playmaker than what Joe is. Joe is a guy that he can execute if you put him in the right positions. He's not a guy that if stuff breaks down, he's going to make stuff happen. Nico is, Hendon Hooker was. So, kind of a long-winded way of saying, yeah, I think that we need to find a way to spark it up, but maybe not. Don't be too quick to bring in Nico. VFL Willie says, I'm hoping Addison Nichols can step up. We have a lot of seniors on the O line. I'm definitely worried for Nico. Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with Addison Nichols. To me, he looked really good in all the preseason stuff that we saw. He was one of my favorite guys. I thought that he was going to be starting at one of those guard spots, especially like at left guard. But for whatever reason, he's not. So, again, those coaches see these guys every single day, several times a day. So they know, they would know a lot better than we do. But it does seems like, maybe they might be opening up some competition in some different places and maybe giving guys maybe like a second look just to be triple, double and triple, sure. But that's an excellent point. Candace says, good point. Jerry Gibson, after that game, I was surprised we're still ranked. Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, I'm looking at it like this, man. I wouldn't be mad if we wasn't ranked. Rankings don't mean a whole lot to me, not at this point in the season. And like you said, man, like we don't really even deserve to be ranked as high. So it does kind of feel good to be shown some love. People know what this team is capable of. But I want those guys to be fired up to earn that spot back. We saw the same thing last season. We get ranked number one. We got to go play Georgia, and what do? We go out there and we look terrible. So we cannot get too high. We've got to keep working, man. We've got to keep our heads down and keep on working. VFL Willie, I just think we need one game where the offense rolls like it's supposed to. I agree 1,000,000%. VFL Willie, we definitely need that. I think that they need a lot of confidence. We saw them kind of having some confidence after our first game, driving people into the locker room and stuff like that. Just playing with that extra nastiness and that extra dog. And I'm talking about especially up front. I think that they need to kind of beat up on some people. And I think that they just need to get it back rolling, man, because I feel like they might feel a little bit beat up after the last game, even though they didn't play like really, really, really horrible. They didn't get beat up too bad, but they did get beat a lot. Somebody got beat on that offensive line on almost every single play, and that's just unacceptable. Agent Orange, when the trolls find your channel, you've arrived. Yeah, man, exactly right, exactly right. And you know what? I don't even mind it, man. We can trash talk back and forth. We can do that all day long. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm really, really fired up. First off, obviously we've got a long way to go, but I'm really fired up for that Georgia game. You want to talk about trash talking? I'm planning on going to that game, and we might kind of do something special. Maybe have like an actual physical tailgate, and maybe go live if some of y'all are going to be there. Maybe we can have y'all on, and we can all just kind of like have like a panel and just talk about Tennessee football, talk about the game. I think that'd be a lot of fun, man. Just eating all that with some of y'all. That would be a ton of fun. Tides. We have 3 home games back to back to back. If the offense figures it out and we go 3-0 during that stretch, the season is still salvageable. Yeah, I agree 1,000,000%. Tides. That's very, very true. You know, I'm telling y'all, this team is not that far off. It was like on most of the plays where we had, where something went wrong, it was one person being like a step too slow, or maybe like a step too earlier. Leverage isn't right. It's so 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 fixable. And that kind of stuff can easily swing in our favor. But yeah, no, I mean we most definitely, we just gotta dial it in, man. We got to get locked in all the way. And if we can do that, if we can get this offense going, if Hypo finds a way to uh, mold this offense around Joe Milton, that offensive line, and the running backs that we have, we're going to be great. I'm going to tell you something else. They said that Dylan Sampson's kind of banged up, but I think that Dylan Sampson would have gave us a lot in that game. I might have said this earlier, but I think that Small is a little bit too slow, is a little bit too patient, especially on those like quick, short, like swing passes. Get the ball to somebody like Dylan Sampson because he's smaller, so he's a little bit harder to tackle, or he's shorter. You know what I mean? He's shorter in stature. I also want to see Cam Seldon. I'm really excited to see him. I think he's going to be an absolute force, but going to trust in these coaches. Orange Shield Comics. Did you watch Aaron Beasley's post game comments on On3? That concerns me. Yeah, man. So we talked about that earlier, but yeah, that is very concerning. You never want to hear about guys not doing what they're supposed to do on this team. I think that is the absolute floor. You got to come in and give your all for Tennessee every single day. And that's not just with football, that's off the field too. We can talk about Gerald Mincy. I mean, dude, like I can't even imagine. Like, why are you riding around having anything inside of your car? And they haven't said what it was. We think it might be weed, but like, why, dude? This is Florida week. It's game week, and like you've got to be smart. So I think for sure that is something that's that's something that catches your eye, and I can't understand not being mentally prepared for a game, not watching film, not knowing what to do. We've already talked about a couple of players, but I can name off even more. They just looked like they were lost. They looked like they had never seen film on Florida. And it's not just last game. Austin P, I saw a lot of people looking that exact same way. We got to get locked in, man. And somebody's got to go into that locker room and say, look, we're not going to stand for this. And, it's funny that y'all are bringing this up because we talked about that players only meeting and, should we be worried about that? And we all just kind of brushed it off like, nah, man. They just wanted to play better after Austin Peay. But now we know we're seeing a lot of little things that's starting to kind of build up, and it's like, dang, what is really going on? Somebody's got to get a hold of those reins, and we've got to get ourselves back on track. As soon as we do that, man, we're gonna be just fine. This team is very, very, very talented. Um, let's see. Nug said, "I want Small to do well, but he trips over his own feet too much." Yeah, he does. That's the one thing that I can say about him is he kind of has that like run into the dirt problem sometimes, and that's something that hopefully he can get fixed. I don't know exactly what you do to fix something like that, but that is very, very frustrating. Like I said, he's a little bit too patient. It does pay off for him sometimes, but only if the hole is just opened up wide open. So he's got to get north and south a little bit quicker than he did against Florida. Okay, let's see what else we got here. VFL Willie Jalen Wright is a star. Did you see him moving those pies? Yeah, man. Yeah, we talked about that earlier too. He's an absolute stud. That's the type of effort that you want to see. Also similar to like Castles. I think Castles had a false start penalty, and he comes right back with that. It was like a little hitch, or like a little dig, like a little short dig route or a slant or something. He catches it maybe 5 yards short of the first down and just drags bodies all the way, 4 or 5 yards past the first down marker. That's what we need. We need that all the time. We need if everybody gives that type of an effort, we'll never lose a game. Do that on and off the field, man, and film study and all that. We're gonna be just fine. Let's see here. Bo Honey 101. He's talking about K Mays, Nugs. Campbell and Cooper were on some show, and Coop looked stoned. Maybe the whole line had smoked this last week. Yeah, probably, dude. And you know what? I'm not. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not like against people smoking weed or nothing like that. I just my whole thing is it should not affect our team in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Like you should be able to think properly. You should be able to function, and you shouldn't be getting caught with it. You shouldn't be going to jail hurting this team. I mean, do what you do, dude, but don't hurt this team. That's my biggest thing. So you know, if there were if that's what was going on, man, and he ended up getting caught and it hurt the whole team, I think that they all need to be running. VFL Willie says at Nugs that explains everything. Yeah. That oh yeah, VFL Willie talking about that BS call on Castles. Yeah, that was a horrible call, man. That we had so many bad calls in that game. Never want to blame the game on those referees, but yeah, we did. I think everybody saw it. Even ESPN is talking about it. We had a million bad calls, so that is very, very frustrating. But shoot, man, we've been going for about an hour. I don't know. Do y'all want to keep on going? Let's see. Nugs says I ain't against it, but as a man, when you got so much on the line, you can't be doing dumb stuff and getting caught. Yes, you're exactly right, Nugs. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys have to grow up. Y'all are grown men. You know what I mean? Y'all are young men, and you are still learning. You're gonna, everybody messes up sometimes, but yeah, I mean, just learn from this, and don't. The entire team needs to learn from this. We should not see anybody else on this current roster have this exact same issue. Period. We don't need to have any more off the field issues, and that is a little bit concerning, man, because seems like we had some last season too. Obviously, we're nowhere near where UGA is. Where I mean, if y'all had any idea the type of stuff, if y'all just Google like UGA stuff, you can look it up maybe on like AJC.com or any of that, or I forgot what's like Athens Sentinel is their local paper. Their players are getting arrested all the time for a whole bunch of stuff. And not to say that like, oh, well, that makes it okay for us, but I'm just saying we're nowhere near that. So I guess it's been relatively okay. We do need to get it tightened up though. So I fully expect to hear from some of these players, man. Not maybe in the media, but from some of the ones who I do talk to, I would expect for them to say, yeah, man. Hyper really, really laid into it. So anxious to hear how that whole conversation goes. But if y'all have any more thoughts or questions, I will answer them. Or if y'all got something else that you want to say, I'll read off y'all's comments, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in for sure, man. This has been fun. We've been going for an hour, so It's definitely been fun. Thank y'all to those of you who got to see some of that film breakdown. If y'all didn't know, it got shut down. Something that I'm gonna have to work on. It's copyright problem. Cayman Mickler says UGA is the most arrested team going back to Mark Rick, I believe. Yeah. No, and that's so true. And even prior to that, man, like as long as I've been living, they always have, and it's something different there. Is I think that those seems like the cops in that area don't like the football team, and they kind of like look for them. You know what I mean? Like it's not like in most college towns. Not saying this is right or wrong, but in most college towns, whenever like especially like campus police or like local cops find out if it's something, I don't want to necessarily call it small, but if it's something like you've got like a little bit of weed or something, they'll pretty much just let you go. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't really get you for that type of stuff. But in Athens, they always do. But the type of stuff I'm talking about now it's been some pretty serious stuff, man. I mean, it's been some really serious stuff. VFL Willie, I'm just glad Thornton showed up finally. Yeah, you know what? He did make that one catch, or he made maybe two. I think he's still got a ways to go. Hopefully, that gave him some confidence. Because it can be kind of nerve wracking, right? You're coming from the West Coast, and granted, he did play at Oregon, which is I mean, you would think that that's a pretty big program, but it's nothing like football in the South. It's just different. It just means so much more. And I think that the atmosphere can get to people sometimes, whenever you're just getting hit up all the time and people are like, oh, talking about the game everywhere you go, people talking about the game and people know everything about you. It can be overwhelming for some of these young men. And I think that maybe now he's starting to get settled in. We're going to need him. Squirrel has stepped up, tremendously proud of him. I think that all of our wide receivers, for the most part, have played well. But that's an excellent point. It does feel good, VFL Willie, to see him, making a big catch. So hopefully he's going to get himself going now. Kevin Mickler says it does seem like that sometimes. Yeah, it does. I think you might be talking about UGA. Yeah, it is. Cadbury not doing anything violent. Let him be. And I agree with you completely. Like if it's like a victimless crime, dude. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Let's not let's not give these guys a record. And this is just me talking. I don't mean to get too far into this or deep into these weeds, but I just like let's not give these guys a record, especially if you know they've got a great future over something that we all know is kind of like, come on, stop it. Yeah, as long as they're not out beating people up or driving drunk, stuff like that. Let's not be too tough on these guys. Nugs, appreciate it, man. This was like therapy. Keep your heads up, Vols fan. We got we got to get right game this Saturday. Yes, sir. Pray we get right. Amen, Nugs. Appreciate you as always, brother. VFL Willie, whatever happened to Mahan? I know he got in trouble. Oh, Mohan. I'm not sure who that is. I'm not sure exactly who that is. Maybe you can clarify who you're talking about right there, VFL Willie. Uh, Mohan's been gone. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who y'all talking about with that one. Jerry Gibson says, yeah, he did step up in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he did. I think you're talking about. I think you're talking about Dante Thornton. Agent Orange, didn't Caden Salter get thrown off the team for getting caught with weed in his car on campus? Guess Liberty's good with it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on what the particulars were in that situation, but yeah. Oh, okay. And VFL Willie, he said, I meant with his case. Okay, so that's a linebacker from last year. Oh, okay, yeah. That's the dude from Texas. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Mahan got in trouble last season, domestic violence. I think I haven't heard anything about him. Yes, since he was dismissed. Yeah. Oh, since he was dismissed. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that it was one of those types of initiatives. I didn't think that was about weed or nothing like that. But even still, man. I mean, you know, I let's not. I mean, these guys. It's one thing, to get caught with some weed is another thing to be out here beating people up and stuff like that. So I'm happy that we don't have those types of issues on this team, and I hope that we don't, man. I don't want any serious problems, but I feel like we're starting to get it worked out. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So now you're talking about Juju Mitchell, Juju Mitchell. Okay, he's no longer on the team either. Yeah, okay, so that's who I was talking about. But he just transferred out, right? And I'm not sure who the other guy is that y'all are talking about. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with that one, but yeah, man. We got to get a whole lot of the off the field stuff cleaned up, but and obviously a whole lot of the on the field stuff cleaned up too. But I think that's that's probably going to be it for this one, y'all. I appreciate y'all as always just for tuning in, and we're gonna have a whole lot more, man. I was hoping that we could have got P in here, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it in. So next time we will catch him. And I think that the next video is more than likely going to be a little bit of maybe just something talking about UTSA. We're done with Florida right now. Let's go ahead and move on. Go ahead and move on, man, and let's go out and get this W, and let's just be great, man. So appreciate y'all as always. Yes, sir. Good night, VFL Willie. Appreciate y'all as always. Catch y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.